Good morning, y'all. We're gonna talk about some good old trauma, specifically the good old financial trauma. And this is gonna be season three, episode two. So, I will say this will probably be one of the hardest episodes for me to actually record because it's a trauma that still feels kind of fresh and it still bothers me to this day. But like I said, this is season three where I'm just going to be open and authentic with y'all. So, whew, I'm going to have to take some breaths with these. So, you may be going through what I'm about to mention either now or you probably done it in the past. And if not, hey, you'll be able to get some things and you'll know what to do, how to navigate, avoid some things if need be. So you can use my life as an example of, okay, this is what he did. He mentioned this is what we not gonna do. We could do this better. So let's get into the episode. So we're gonna start back on October of 2021. And I think that was in the middle of COVID, towards the end of COVID. Don't know. COVID kept upgrading, so I don't remember which upgrade it was on. So basically, we're gonna start with the job that I had. I mentioned it in the first episode, season three, episode one. And at that job, I was working at a place called Transcom. It was a remote job that I took. The whole purpose of me to take this job was one, it was remote. I figured, okay, I could stay home after I'm done. I could work on the podcast. So the intention was it was better for me so that I could make more episodes for the podcast. That was a complete failure. My mental health declined from that job, reasons being the hours. I took it and I couldn't change them. So it was a night position. So by the time I was done with work, all of my friends were pretty much asleep. And by the time I went to sleep, my friends were kind of getting ready to go to work. And when I was about to start work, they were about to get off soon. So I really wasn't able to see people much. That kind of really affected me because I learned that I really was like a person that likes to, vibe with people. I like my solitude, but when I'm consistently in it and I'm only talking to people through a headphones, it's kind of like, okay, I kind of want to see my friends. So that was one factor. Another thing is, this is going to sound weird, but it was a lot of like forced promotions. So I took the job. I was kind of like your regular, degular. We'll say I was in the billing department. That was hard in the beginning, but you kind of after a while you kind of got used to it, and I did. But then after like a few months, then you have to go into another part. So it was like tech support. I hated tech support. I was just like, I sign up for that, but I guess you kind of do. So you kind of get force promoted, and it went from I'm doing billing to now I'm doing both billing and technical support stuff. So I had different calls. Not only that, but if I'm done at 11:15, I might get a call at 11:13 from someone who's, I don't know, in Australia, and I could get off it could either be a quick call or it could be a call that I would be on the phone till maybe close to 12 a.m. So after a while, that fucked with my mental health, and it was just like, yeah, no, I wasn't feeling it. So as far as the money aspect, it was still the same as the previous job that I had. I was working at Walgreens, so it really wasn't much of a difference in pay. Like I would say it was a pay increase of like a few cents. So it really wasn't that. Like I said, the whole thing was for me to focus on the podcast. So wrapping that part up, that's where the mental health declined. So now, as that declined, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna do. I had to do something for work. So it took me a good, like a good week and a half to just be like, yeah, no. So I just stopped. I just stopped doing the work. I literally just put in all of my sick days because I literally mentally, I just wasn't there. It didn't help that my computer was in my room as well. So I really didn't kind of get a break. I learned like you can put a sheet over it, but I learned it's best if you're gonna do a remote position. So let me say that for you guys. If you're gonna do a remote or you're thinking about it, definitely do not have it in the room that you're gonna sleep it in, like your computer. Have your work in a whole different office so you can separate from it, close the door, things like that. Because if it's in your room, it's definitely gonna fuck with your mental. So that's a good lesson for you to know right there. So fast forwarding, I quit that. I took a week and a half, put in all my sick days, told a person I was like, "Hey, this is it. I can't do it. Whatever. Call it a day." Sent the equipment back to him. So I did Uber, and I did it for a few months, and then my car broke down. And that meant no income coming in. And so that was literally the beginning of my financial hardship. That was the lowest point in my finances ever in my life. So I have to say this before I move on. I've always been the type to where I've always had extra money somewhere. My mom, my aunt, they taught me, hey, have you some money somewhere just in case, put a little bit of here, put a little bit of there, whatnot. Even before, no matter what job I worked, I had a little bit of something. And as far as my spending habits went, it was just like if I knew like, okay, I had some money, I would wait to probably like the day or two before I made like a huge purchase and I'm like, ooh, okay, I'm under the hundreds, then it's like, okay, well, I know I'm going to get paid in 2 days, so it's fine. So financially, before that, I was like all good, responsible to this, that, and the other. But now with no income coming in, I had to use those, that savings and things like that. So I want to say as well, I didn't have, like, I wasn't making as much, again, with the previous job to kind of like put a lot of money up because I then had like my own bills that I had to pay. So this goes back to what I said in a previous episode that, with my mom passing and things like that, I had to kind of switch jobs, have more income coming in, help out with the house. We're definitely going to get on that. So that was the beginning of my financial hardship. That was the lowest point. So it was so bad for me, right? That this was, I want to say, a few months after my girlfriend moved in with me. So she moved in, my stepdad, and my stepbrother and sister, they moved out. So it was just like us two. And so I was literally going through it because I was trying to sell, like, since the car broke down, I was trying to sell the car, this, that, and the other. Now, mind you, the car it wasn't mine, but it was mine. So it was my grandmother's car, but she could not drive the car, just due to her health and stuff like that. So I was the one utilizing the car. So I had to take care of it, this, that, and the other, and whatever. So when it came down to it, it broke down. It was just like the cost is not worth it. So it was a 2010 HHR Chevy. For some of y'all who know me, y'all always see me in that little red car. But it's what 2021, so I'm like, bruh, it was making a noise. It just wasn't worth the repairs. It was just better to sell it and just try to get a new car. So I had to go through the process with my grandmother, my aunt. Boom, we managed to get the car sold, but I needed to get a new car or a used car. And that was hell because with that I had to have like going to a dealership, having to you have to have credit. My girlfriend just moved in with me. I couldn't have like my credit wasn't the best. No one could really kind of like co-sign with me except my girlfriend, which mind you, she just moved in with me a few months ago. So she was kind of, how can I put it? Like not forced in it, but like kind of forced in it because she was with me. So it was just like, hey, you're the only one I can kind of do this with. So and that wasn't something that she wanted to do, but because of the scenario, she did it. And then that made me feel bad, but I had to get a car or whatever. So I got to the point where we got some money up. I had to put, I think about like maybe 2000 2000 down or something like that. But I didn't have it. I had the money that was saved, so my aunt chipped in, my two of my aunts chipped in, and then it got to the point where I literally was about $236 short, or 48, something like that. I was like 200 and some change short. I so now let me stop on that point. I was the type to never ask people for money. If I did ask you to borrow money, it was literally like for something crazy, like, hey, like you got $10 because my card is acting weird or whatever it was, and I end up giving it back to you, if not that same day, the next day. So I didn't really ask people about for money. Now, the reason why, and this is just me being authentic with you guys, is because the way I was raised, like I I didn't really have to ask for money. So I was the only child. I got everything that I wanted. So, not saying that I was a spoiled brat, but I was the only child, guys. So I'm gonna get whatever I want. So I worked for it, but still, I never really had to ask for money. And for me, it just hurt. It really was like an attack against my pride because it's like, okay, now if I'm asking people for money, they're gonna see me as broke or like just broke, just and how can I put it? Like I was hardcore, like destroying myself with that. I'm like, people are gonna see me as broke. They're gonna see me as beneath them. They're gonna see me as like, oh, he don't got no money. Just all of that. And I was just like, I've never been the type to not have it. Even if I say I didn't have it, to some people, baby, I had it, but just not for them. So the fact that I had nothing and I had to ask people, and it was just like, bro. And it was hard because I really needed like just 240 something dollars. Ask some people and I try to break it up. They either had, some people didn't have it. Ask some friends, they didn't have it. But I asked my little brother, and he's always had my back. So he was like, yeah, and I was like, okay, bro. I was like, I swear to you, like the minute I get the car, give me like a week for Uber, and I'm gonna pay you, your money back. So that was incredibly hard for me because I had to ask Uber for money. Now, let me also talk about how stressful and horrible this was for me because I didn't have income coming in, everything was now put on my girlfriend. So let me take that back a little bit for you guys. She just moved in September, maybe of 2021. I want to say early September. This happened um let me see. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. I'm lying. I'm lying. I'm lying. Am I September, October, November? Maybe. Yes, 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 yes. It was September. I had to think about it, y'all. So it was September. This shit all started happening about, yeah. So this happened close to December, early December, yeah, because that's when I got the car in December. So like no September, October, like so October, November was hell. There we go. November was hell. Um, she was the one paying the bills, providing food on the table. She was working extra jobs, side gigs, pet sitting, different things like that. She literally had to use up all her savings that she had um, to support us now, right? I didn't have any income coming in, so she has her car, but like she was like, well, you can just take my car and then do Uber, but I was like, no, because I can't because just the legalities with Uber, you have the car, make sure your insurance, different like things like that. And I was just like, it just wouldn't be good because if I'm telling people, it just wouldn't be good. I'm trying to deliver people food and they see, okay, well, hey, your car is a blue Chevy, but you're in a different car. So no, I was like, I'm not trying to go through all of that. So it was again very, very hard for me to have my girlfriend who just moved in take care of everything. So as a male, as a guy, that crushed me, right? And so in those moments, like she seen me at my worst. So like I'm the type when things get really stressful, I kind of go into solitude because I have to figure it out. I've always been the type, let me figure it out. And so I was placed in a position where I could not do this by myself. So I had no choice but to rely on her. I had no choice but to rely on others to help me. That that destroyed me. So I had to take some time to recover from that. And I'm still recovering from that, to be honest with you, but that literally destroyed me. So at that point, it was just like I have to do whatever. I just have to do whatever it takes. I have to suck it up. I have to deal with it, whatever. And she was awesome, like my girlfriend. She was helping me, get through it. But it was still rough because she's stressed out. I'm stressed out. The whole thing with all of this is just, whatever. Okay, so as that's happening, we asked for people, like I said, we asked people for money, whatever. My brother gave it to me, was able to go get the car, boom. So I was back in the process of earning income, right? So because that happened, I have to say, so this is like December-ish. So Christmas was definitely not it. I barely had the money to even get her a gift. Or it was either we both barely had the money to get each other's gifts because it was just because of like how financially that just fucked everything up. Um, but like I said, I got the car. I was back in a spot where I can get, income coming in. But let me say this to you guys. There were other bills that needed to be paid. No matter what the fuck you're going through, the bills they don't give a damn what's going on. They need to be paid. So I was able to get most of the bills caught up except the mortgage. And this is where it gets worse. Like if that wasn't already worse, this is where it gets worse. So that was 2021, 2022. So I would say in 2021, okay, what was that? Because we're in 2023 now. I just turned 31. So I had to have turned 29, something like, yeah, 2021. Don't mind me in my math, y'all. I'm trying to like process this while still in a traumatic state, right? Okay, so 2021, I had just turned 29. And I swear to y'all, I don't know what I did to life. I don't know what I did to somebody, mama, daddy, brother, sister. But when I turned 29, boy, it was just like life was like, I'm finna tear that ass up. And I was just like, but what? I'm talking about, when your parents used well, not everybody, but when you go in the shower and your parents beat you in the shower, it was like that. It was like all of a sudden, like, bro, I literally just lathered my armpit up, and now I feel leather on my bare ass, my bare wet ass, bro. It was 29's. Oh, life was just giving it to me. Okay, so now, like I said, other bills had to be paid, except I couldn't. So it was with the mortgage. Now this is like I said, it gets worse. So so in between December and like early January, still doing the Uber. I was behind, I think, 1 month on the mortgage, which was fine because 1 month isn't bad. So we, I was able to pay it, but I was still, with Uber. So I eventually picked up someone, and they led me to my next job, Brightline. So I ended up working for Brightline in January of 2022. So great job, better pay. I got promoted, got a management position, love the company, all of that. So it was definitely full time again, closer to home, all of that. Now, my income started to increase more, so it increased, so I was in a better position financially, but the hovering thing was the mortgage. So I think it gets to March. So in those few months, I'm still like in that recovering state because there was other bills that we had to catch up on, but I managed, like I said, to get up to the mortgage part. But again, my girlfriend, she put a lot of money in too, so we both were like in this recovery state. So if something was going on with her or me, whatever, what we had to use, and it was really hard to save because all of my savings were gone. And so I had to take a loan, this, that, and the other, and all of that. So we get down to February, March, and I get a email or something about like, or it was a letter that the mortgage was going to be changed to a different company. So I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really think much of it. I was just like, sure, okay, whatever. Um, so I ended up speaking with them. I know I had to, and I was just like, hey, we're going over with these people. Is the information gonna be the same, like, transferred over? And they were like, yeah, it should be, whatever. I'm gonna say for legal reasons, I won't say the name of the company that our mortgage went with, because I literally think I deleted it out of my mind. But there we go. Okay, I will say that they rhyme with Helene Finance. I'm gonna say they rhyme with Helene Finance. Um, that was the worst ever, ever decision. I don't, I, yeah. Okay. Before I go into that transition, let me explain my housing situation. So, with my mom who got our house built, my mom passed. I thought that my mom wrote in the will that the house would be passed down to me, but apparently my mom passed away before that. So, it went to the next person would have been my stepfather because they were married. So the house, though she passed, he would be the next person, not myself. Did not know that. So legally, because I guess legally, Florida, whatever, marriage, whatever, it was him. So his name and stuff like that was on there. So he was the main, um what's the word I'm looking for? The main user, and I was like an authorized user. So he moved into his own place, and I like back he had his because he had a house before, so afterwards and stuff like that. Like I said, he moved back to his house, and me and my girlfriend, we were taking care of my mom's house. But legally, he was the person on the house. I was an authorized person, so I had to go through a process to get myself as an authorized person to pay the damn mortgage and things like that. So when it came to things that I needed to know, it was like, okay, well, hey, well, we have to ask, your stepfather first for this. And I'm just like, bruh, like, I'm the one who's paying you guys. Like, this is coming out of my card. So that was a hassle in itself. Now, so with that being said, now you kind of have an understanding of the legality part of the house. So technically, yeah, I was a homeowner, sure, but like legally, it was mostly my stepdad, and but our then we got it where it was in both of our names, so I was on the title, so it was like a 50-50 thing. But still, though, because marriage and however that whole part of it works, he was the legal whatever. So my name was on the title, this, that, and the other, but whatever. So going back to Helene Finance, once everything switched, my information didn't go through. So I'm calling these people like, hey, I'm trying to pay the mortgage and this, that, and the other. And they're like, oh, well, you can't pay it. I'm like, well, what do you mean? It was like, well, your name's not on the account. I was like, but what are you talking about? We were just with HSBC was who we were with before. They were great. I think they closed, but they were amazing. They were like, yeah, no, like it didn't get switched over. I'm like, so whose fault is that? Because once y'all took it over, they said that it would be over on, all our information would be over. So we have to go through the process. And they were like, well, you have to go through the whole thing again. So I could not pay the bill because we needed to make it where I was authorized to do it. I had to ask my stepdad, whatever, to whatever, send all the work or whatever. This company was so horrible that I couldn't pay it, but I had the money. But they were like, you have to wait to get into the system or whatever. So I wait and I'm asking the person like, okay, hey, this is my name, give you my information, this is the loan information I'm trying to pay. And it's like, well, because your name's not on the account, we can't tell you anything. And I'm like, but I just sent you everything. So what is they was like, we still need information from you. I'm like, okay, well, what's the information so I can give it to you? Well, because you're not on the account, I can't give it to you. So I'm sitting here like, how the fuck am I supposed to get through this if you can't tell me what it is? I hung up, I called back. Another lady was like, I see that you sent all the information that you need. So I'm like, yeah, I sent everything that I needed that I did in the last mortgage company. They go on to say, the lady literally, if it was not for this lady, she literally said, I see that you sent everything. I don't know why no one's not telling you. So I'ma just say it to you because I see it here. You just literally just like you just need to get your stepdad to just say in the email to authorize you. I was like, that's it. She was like, yeah. I was just like, if someone would have told me this like over a week plus ago, I this would have been paid. Now, I want y'all to understand, because of this process, that caused me to be about 2 months now behind with the mortgage. So it's frustrating because I had the money, but I couldn't pay it. So we had to go through this process so I could pay it. I could not have asked myself that, like, hey, could you pay it? And every time it would have to be him tapping to pay it to go through this process and this, that, and the other. So I was trying to get it to where I can pay it. Go through this process with these people. I get behind another month. So that happens. I was able to then I was in that little tussle of like, I was trying to pay it. But then it went like because of them, it went like a month back or whatever. So what else happened? Something happened. I think another financial thing happened to where it caused us to be 3 months behind on the mortgage. So we call them and we say, hey, like this is what's going on. We want to pay. What are our options? They said to go through a payment plan. So we set up the payment plan or whatever to do it. We paid about over 2K or something like that for the first payment. Now, we call because I had to ask him about something else about the payment or whatever. This had to be like maybe a few weeks after we made that first payment. So mind you, we set up this payment plan over the phone with them, whatever, gave us confirmation number. Call the people. They're just like, hey, yeah, no, there was never no payment plan set up. I'm like, what are you talking about? It was like, yeah. We tell them the information. It was like, yeah, no, you don't set up a payment plan. Like, you can't set up a payment plan over the phone. I was like, are you? I'm like, well, we just did that with the lady. She gave us a confirmation. And it's like, well, we see that you made a payment, but there's no payment plan set up. And I'm like, okay, what? So it got so bad to the point where these people were literally just trash. Like you called them, everyone gave a different answer. So it got to the point where because I was getting so much misinformation, I was like, okay, well, can I speak to a supervisor? Well, they're not available right now, so they'll have to give you a call back within 24 hours. Okay. it gets to the point where we get so behind to where I go and I'm like, I'm not trying to lose my mom's house. It gets to the point where I try to do like mortgage assistance. That took a long time. So go through this process speaking with these people just to get the money to cover it, this, that, and the other. Months go by. They need this information, they need that information, boom. So I get the approval only to find out that, you know, they're like, well, yeah, like we approved it for the months that you asked for. I'm like, okay, yeah, but it's been months since then. It was like, oh, so you needed more? And I'm like, yeah. And it was like, okay, so you'll have to basically like either do it again or do whatever. And I'm like, bro, we're already behind. Then the the worst part hits in where we get a foreclosure notice, and I'm just sitting here like, at that point, I was just like, mind you guys, I've been stressing about this mortgage all of so all of 2022. So from January 1st of 2022 all the way up, I was fucking stressing, and I'm just sitting here like, bro. And so we I think no. Yeah, no. Let me make sure I get my facts right because I lied. I'm sorry, guys. That all happened, but this was now going to 2023. So it was this year. We were good for that year, but it was still catching up. So that was a year of catching up financially. Then 2023, that's when they switched it up. March 2023, that's when they switched the mortgage and we was going through hell, this, that, and the other with them. Sorry. So continuing, um, where you're just like, so we get a foreclosure letter, and I'm like, bruh. So I had to literally mind you, I didn't tell my stepdad all this because I'm trying to figure it out. Like I'm trying to get this under control because I'm like, okay, hey, I gotta figure this out. Like if I'm running the house, I gotta figure this out. Obviously, talk with my girlfriend, this, that, and the other. So I got to the point where I had to sit down and tell him like this is everything that's going on, and I was afraid to tell him because I was like, I literally can't afford to hear like, oh, why didn't you do this? Or I was like, I can't afford to hear that right now because emotionally, I am very fragile right now. I am stressed. I am going through it. My stomach is in knots. I am having headaches. I can't even fucking sleep well because I don't know what tomorrow's gonna look like. It got so bad to the point where I would go to sleep and I would be disappointed that I woke up. And I'm not even over exaggerating. I swear to you guys, like it was that bad to where I literally was disappointed that I woke up. I was just like, oh damn, I woke up. Okay, well let's see what we got to deal with today. And I would try to go to work, be positive, this, that, and the other. And work was like a great escape because I was like, okay, I'm working longer, making more money, you know what I mean, and I could, pay some of this, shit that we were behind on. But it just got so bad that I was just like, bruh, this is ridiculous. So the options that we were going through with that was like, hey, you got either sell the house or you can try to go through foreclosure, something to where like you can avoid it or something. I can't think of the term. So me and my girlfriend, we ended up going on a trip just to kind of get away for a little bit. And mind you, like we didn't go and spend money. It was just kind of like a little, let's kind of go down south for the day and just kind of get away from the house or whatever. And I literally did everything in my power to like not like fucking, go through like getting kicked out because I'm like, bro, if we get kicked out, we literally have nowhere to go. I'm like, I am not staying with my grandmother. I can't stay with nobody. Bro, I can't do it. So it just got really, really bad. I was just like more to myself. I was not the best person to be around. I'm talking about stress levels were high, barely was eating, stomach was in knots, not wanting to wake up, not wanting to deal with life, not wanting to any type of I didn't even want to check the mailbox because I knew it was just stuff in there. So it was really bad. So it came down to after I tried all my options and it just wasn't working, it came down to like selling the house. Prior, me and Priscilla, my girlfriend, we were just like, hey, like, we were talking about dual citizenship and, moving to a different country. So this was like, I want to say about a good month before all of this like officially went down. And so like right after we was like, yeah, New Zealand, that's when everything just like fucking just went down. But we were just, and I just literally had to face that point of like, all right, I had to go to that decision of like, at this point, we have to sell the house because it'd probably just be better to. So we was trying to get advice and talk with people, and people that we were close with, and they were like, honestly, the position you're in, you're better to sell it because if you go through foreclosure and you lose it, so if you still got time, like sell it. I had to really kind of sit down because my mother told me, like, as I was younger, she was like, son, don't sell the house. Whatever you do, don't sell the house. And that I remember I made that promise to her. So I had to sit with myself and like really kind of like ask myself like, am I really going to break this promise? Luckily, because I have a very strong like connection with the spirit world and whatnot. I just had to really just kind of meditate and just connect with my mother and just like talk with her and be like, hey, this is the scenario. My mom was just like, hey, I know I made that promise to you, but like I know I made you promise, but that was different times then. And just talking with her spirit was just like, yeah, that was different times. Younger, you didn't know this was gonna happen, this, that, and the other. I'd rather you sell it and than lose it all. And my mom gave me that permission to do it, so I was like, all right, we're gonna do it. Things worked out, connected, and we got to the point where it was like, all right, let's sell it before it gets to foreclosure because it really wasn't under my name. It was gonna fuck up my father's, like my stepfather's credit. So, we ended up selling the house. I told my family, it was kind of I mean, they were very supportive, but it was a blow for them because it was my mom. So she passed away, but she was my mom. But that was, it sounds weird to say, but they knew her longer than me. Um, and that was their sister. My aunts, that was their sister. My grandmother, that was her daughter. So that was like their sister's house, their daughter's house, and I'm selling it. And I kind of told them a little bit of what kind of was going on, but I didn't have the emotional capacity to go into it as I am with you all. So like I said, you guys are knowing more than half my family right now. So we decided to sell it, and I was talking with my stepdad, and he was like, "Okay, well, since if you're gonna sell it, then you know you can you can stay here, get a place, like get an apartment, whatever." And I was just like, "No." Me and Priscilla, we was like, "Absolutely not. Like, we're not feeling to be in America no more." Like, it really was just like we are feeling to leave the country and go, and that's literally how we were feeling. And it was just we just both decided like, okay, once we do this, like let's get the fuck up out of America. Like we wanted to travel, we wanted to leave, do different things, we wanted to do dual citizenship, but we planned for this for 5 years, but this went from a month to a few months now that we're going to be leaving, and that was a huge shift for us. um Whew, giving it all y'all to you, giving it you. So that was a big shift for us. Eventually, we went through the process. It was very awkward. Having people come in and out of your house, neighbors asking, "Oh, are you selling a house?" You know, people looking at all your rooms. It was just like, whatever. Found a buyer, boom, got it sold. So we made the decision. We was like, all right, let's look into how we're going to get to New Zealand. We did our research, and after we sold the place, we had to give ourselves like kind of like a bit of a time a time frame to one, get everything situated, sell everything, let our jobs know, organize the processes of going to, New Zealand, our passports, the visas, all of that stuff. And so we chose a date, we had to get tickets, as you know, da da da, and here we are. Now, before I get into the current, I will say, looking back at it, there were so many things that I could tell y'all that may have could have went better. Like my stepdad said, like with this, he was like, "Why didn't you just why didn't you just talk to me earlier about this?" Like, if like he literally was like, come on, man. Like if you would have talked to me about this earlier, we could have avoided this. And I was just like, I was trying to handle it myself. I literally was. And what the lessons that I got from that was that if you're very independent, like how I am in a bit, I would say was, because I've had to adjust and change some things, is that you you're going to have to start to like rely on some people or you trust in some people. Like you basically can't do everything by yourself. You really can't. We're not even designed to do everything by ourselves. Um, and that was a big, like a huge shift for me because it was just like I grew up doing most things by myself. My girlfriend was like, "Okay, we're in a relationship now, so it's not all about you. You can't just go into solitude and try to figure things out. You're not. It's just not you no more. So we have to figure these things out. We have to, find solutions and do other things, but you can't do this anymore." And it was just like, you have to ask for help, and I was afraid to do it. My pride, my ego, relying on other people and act like seriously relying on other people, all of that was foreign, that was new. I had to actually kind of move my shit to the side and tell someone this is what's going on and actually kind of be at their mercy of like, okay, how do I figure this out? Having other people in the business, like, okay, I gotta talk to this person and let them know, and now they're in my business type stuff, and it was just very uncomfortable. I had to be extremely uncomfortable um, to do it, but if I would have spoken to my stepdad earlier, this could have been avoided. Um, and we probably would have still been in the States. Um, as far as, I could, if you could save, I guess, like, but we weren't there financially to do it. I maybe like if we had, like, if these things didn't happen, maybe we would have had more stuff to save. So it's like I look back at it, I'm like, these are possibilities of things that could have been done, but ultimately at the end of the day, they weren't things that were done. I handled it the best way that I knew how. Um, and even kind of looking back, I did keep my composure really good compared to how other people would kind of freak out. Internally, I was dying inside with it all, but there was a lot of fear with that, and it definitely made me face those fears each and every day. And I look back and it's just like, yeah, I probably could have done things differently, but hindsight, if it didn't happen, we would have not been where we are now. So I'm gonna say this to you guys, like, if you're either been in a situation or you're financially going through it, and you're just kind of holding it in, I highly recommend you ask somebody for help. I highly recommend you find somebody that you know maybe a little bit better financially that you can trust and have that uncomfortable ass fucking conversation because it's much better than it going to shit and you have absolutely no choice but to do it. and you're freaking out and you're stressing and you're not wanting to wake up the next day. Like finances is a motherfucker. So I would highly advise you, if you're, even if, no matter how big you are, like how big your finances is, like this was monumental for me. But even if yours is not as monumental, if it's just maybe medium and you're still either kind of struggling, I highly recommend you just ask somebody that you know who can help you. Um, or even just ask or kind of do a little bit of research yourself. But I would say definitely don't let your fears, your pride, your ego, yourself, especially if you're like me, who's very like, I'm gonna just figure it out. Like, rely on somebody, talk to somebody, get that help. That's a huge lesson, I will say. And don't let your fears, fuck up your finances. And I would even take it as far as to say, don't let your fears have you sell your family home. So if you can avoid it, by all means, talk to somebody. You can still have your house, but on a lighter note and on a better note, I will say I'm glad it happened. I can actually say that out of my mouth. I'm glad it did happen because if it didn't, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to move here to New Zealand. Um, I will tell you that it has been the best decision that me and my girlfriend have made to get the fuck up out of America. And I've been holding this in, but I really feel like the new American dream is to get out of America. I'm gonna just be honest with you, especially for those who are indigenous, those who are, black, African descent, whatever you want to call it. If you have the opportunity, get out, because and you don't have to go through what I went through. Like there are people who are literally leaving the states every day. Um, Especially like if you want to look at hashtags like Blaxit, so hashtag BLAXIT, like look into that. People are literally like leaving and they're not like having thousands upon thousands. But what I'm saying is have a plan, do your research, but if you can get out, it was the best decision. I will say looking back, when my stepdad was like, hey, you can stick with your job, which I was at Brightline and it was expanding, which I think today, um, well, sorry, on the 22nd, Orlando opened. So I could have stayed in West Palm or had that possibilities to, maybe go to Orlando and do things there. But honestly, I was being overworked in general, and not just because of Brightline, but I mean America in general. Um, Working in America is just like a robot. Like you can't just do things by one job now. You either have to have two incomes, you have to have a dope like a job, a second job, a side hustle, and it was just like I was tired of it. Honestly, and I did felt like I was locked down in America, and like I really couldn't thrive there like I wanted to. Yes, it was like Florida was my home, South Florida, West Palm, Palm Beach County. I loved it. It was my home, but I really just didn't feel like I could actually thrive there. Like I had just enough money to go through the next few days, but again, if something happened, which it did, like it did, I was screwed. And I felt like everybody, at least that I knew of, I don't know their finances, but from the things that some people have told me, they were one paycheck away from, everything just tumbling down. So when I really look at it, we made that decision and we were like, okay, we're going to go to New Zealand. And everything just fucking like happened where we were like, all right, well, we have no choice now. We're going to go. We agreed Florida is not it. The States is not it. We don't want to go to no other part of America with everything that's been going down. And, looking back, it was like, damn, all this happened for us to get the fuck out of this was the best decision for us to go. And I really do feel as though, my mother is proud that like, hey, you turned this situation into something that's going to be better for, your future offspring and your future generation, because coming here has been amazing. I'm gonna save all of the New Zealand stuff for a different episode because we'll be here forever. That's how amazing it is. But focusing on this financial trauma, there is so many takeaways from this episode. And as a listener, you can be listening to this and your scenario could be different or somewhat similar. But I highly recommend, like, definitely take something from what I told y'all and do something different with it. If you are, again, struggling with your finances, I will tell you, go find somebody that you can talk to help you. If you're behind on some stuff, there are programs out there to help you. Look into them, but you have to, speak out and talk to people. Yes, it's good to, learn as well. I feel as though I would like to benefit more with financial like literacy and things. That's just me. It could just be a response to the trauma of just like, damn, all this shit happened, so I want to be better so this doesn't happen again. But I would say for again, those of you who are listening, take from this what you will and apply a different avenue um in your life that I did not take. Because I will say, when you're in the middle of it, it's harder to I would say do different things. Uh, And that doesn't really sound clear. So, as an example, when people hear a scenario like, "Damn, like this happened," well, if I was you, I would have did this, and it's just like, yeah, but you weren't me, and you weren't in the middle of it. It's easier to say what you would have done if you weren't directly affected and you were on the outside looking in, versus being in the middle of it and you have that going on, plus your life stuff going on, plus everything else in between, continue what you have to do. And oh, by the way, like your partner is going through it too because everybody's kind of screwed in the house right now because of finances. So it's like that bandwidth ain't there versus on the outside looking in. But that is episode two of the financial trauma. So definitely thrive, guys. Do something with this, please. I can't say make better choices, but I will say if any of this relates to you, this is your sign to maybe do something a bit different. That being said, guys, that is it for this episode. I look forward to telling you guys all about New Zealand. And with that, have a fantastic rest of your day. And may your finances improve tremendously. May you have enough money to where if you wanted to wipe your bare ass with a fresh, crisp $100 bill and flush it down the toilet, you can do that and it won't hurt you. That is what I'm speaking for you guys. Thriving, thriving. With that being said, guys, that's it. Thank you for listening. You guys are the best. I look forward to hearing your responses because I know I've already heard some responses from the first episode, so I look forward to hearing what happens with this one. So that being said, later, later, guys.